It's 7:30 on Saturday morning, and you're probably wondering, why am I up so early on a Saturday morning? No, we're not feeding the animals. We're making pulled pork. So I've gotten pretty good at making pulled pork barbecue, and no, you're not getting my dry rub recipe. I don't care how much you ask. But we got some pulled pork we're gonna make for the boys, some for us, and some for some friends. So we got 4 things, and today's episode is gonna be about making this. And it's gonna be an all-day adventure. Although you don't stick around for 12 hours, you're gonna get it condensed in a matter of minutes. But it's going to take us 12 hours. Plus I get to play with my new Christmas toy, which you'll see later on. What was that about? What you doing, Logan?
Making dry rub, Poppy.
So we finished making our dry rub, and I always put my dry rub in Old Spice bottles because it's got these holes on the top, which makes it easier to put it on the pork. Get ready to do the last one. We've already done the first 3. So he thinks he's got it down pat this time, so he's going to show us. He's taking it out of the package, and then he's going to remove the moisture absorbent pad out of it. Throw that in our little Walmart bag that we have by the side. And he's going to put that tray off to the side, and he's going to take a knife and very carefully cut along the bone. Now we picked bone-in pork for this one, so we got to cut a flap, and he's going to cut in right along the bone, pushing nice and deep, and he's going to come all the way out on one side, so that one side of the meat still stays attached. That way it forms like a flap that we can easily pull up. Okay. Put some dry rub in there. Now when you're putting on your dry rub, the key is don't be shy with it. Next step is to take a paper towel and lightly pat it to dry it, because when pork comes, you want to get that excess moisture off. It helps the dry rub stay on a little better. He's going to pat all 4 sides. Now the reason it's called dry rub is because you want to dry it, and then you put the rub on and you rub it in vigorously with your hands on all sides of the meat. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but one of the stories I heard where pulled pork comes from was from back in the early American days when we used to have slaves, which was a horrible time in our history. And the slaves weren't treated very well, and they weren't given the best cuts of meat to feed themselves with. So the Boston butt is from the butt of the pig, and it's, if you were to cook it like regular meat, it would be very, it wouldn't come apart and it wouldn't taste really well. So because what you have to do is you have to cook it with low heat for a long period of time. It helps break down that connecting tissues and makes it edible. And so the slaves figured this out, and they've given us pulled pork, which I think is one of the best types of meals I could eat. It's one of my favorites. Okay. You get all 4 sides?
Poppy, it's time to fire up the grill.
The next step is to soak the wood chips. People can use many different kinds of wood chips. I like using apple. So we're going to open this up and we're going to put it into this bucket of water. Ideally, you want to let it soak overnight. I didn't think about that last night because it was late. So we're going to let it soak while the grill fires up and gets up to operating temperature. The reason you want to soak it is it helps slow down the wood burning process so it smokes more instead of just quickly burning up in the grill. And that's what produces that smoky flavor. So now I'm going to load the charcoal in the grill. I basically put the charcoal in these 2 baskets. These baskets are actually baskets I bought from the grocery store that used to have wooden handles for cooking over the grill. I just cut them off and I use them to hold my charcoal. So we're going to put these in the smoker and get this fired up. So I put the charcoals in a very specific manner. That way I got as many as I can get, so I don't have to keep filling this thing up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the charcoal lighter fluid, and I'm only going to put it on one side. I'm going to soak it. I'm going to give it about 5 minutes to soak in, and then I'm going to light it. The reason I want to do that is because that way this catches on fire, and then it slowly works its way across. That way I got a nice even burn. Okay. So the smoke will come off this and go into that hole, into the main chamber, and smoke the meat, and so will the heat. The reason Poppy likes to use foil is if you use a wire brush to scrub it, sometimes the bristles break off and they can get in your food. And then when you eat it, it pokes you in the mouth or could cause you a serious injury. So we use foil so you don't have those problems. Time for some barbecue.